Excuse me, hello?
My darling Orchid, all my life I've been waiting for you. You took so long. If I could paint,
losing you, Abba.
I love you, Francis. I love you so much.
Good morning everybody, selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. My name is Asma Kusrini, and today I am delighted to moderate a discussion titled Asian Master Talk about the late Yasmin Ahmad, a Malaysian filmmaker who has left us 10 years ago. We will discuss about the importance of her works in the context of Southeast Asia cinema. So the event today is part of Southeast Asia Screen Academy 2020, which aims to open any kind of dialogue, intercultural exchange, and collaboration between filmmakers to develop film culture in Southeast Asia. Yasmin Ahmad Asian Master Talk is to celebrate her legacy and her influence, and to introduce her works, which become a milestone in Southeast Asia in the beginning of this century. I'm really grateful to be here among the guests who will share with us their point of view on Yasmin's works and how Yasmin's legacy influenced the respective works. And now I would like to welcome and to briefly introduce our guests today. We have here Sarifah Amani. Hello Amani. Apa kabar? I hope everything okay there in Malaysia.
Baik, alhamdulillah. Hi, good. Hi. Alhamdulillah, all is good.
Good. Okay. Sarifah Amani is an award-winning actress who turned into a filmmaker herself. And I think it's not exaggerating if I say that she is Yasmin's muse. It's almost impossible to talk about Yasmin Ahmad works without talking about your collaboration with her, with Yasmin. So we will certainly come around to that later during the discussion. Thank you for being here today.
Sama-sama.
So our next guest, we have here Daryl Chia Chee Sum. Daryl is a co-founder of film and animation production company called the Commonist. He's an alumnus of Asian Film Academy, and one of his short film titled Highway has won jury prize at Busan International Short Film Festival. Daryl is I can say is part of a new generation of Malaysian filmmakers today. Thank you for joining us today, Daryl. You're there?
Thank you for SEAScreen. Thank you for giving me this chance to involve in this talk. Hello from Kuala Lumpur.
Okay. And of course, I would like to welcome Mbak Prima Rusdi. Selamat pagi, Mbak Prima.
Selamat pagi. Hi, everyone.
Prima Rusdi is an award-winning screenwriter who has a long list of films in her resume, either as a scriptwriter or as a producer. She's one of the very few women screenwriters in Indonesia and who has written the script and who has produced some of the important Indonesian films since 2002. She started her career as a copywriter in a multinational advertising agency and has won several advertising awards as well, before turning into screenwriter. In the context of career path, Mbak Prima has a similar itinerary as Yasmin actually, who has also started in advertising agency. Welcome, Mbak Prima.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and hi, everyone.
So, without further ado, to give a bit of a context to start our conversation today, first of all, I would like to ask our guest your first encounter with Yasmin Ahmad, either in person or through her works. How did you come across Yasmin Ahmad? Maybe I would like to start with Mbak Prima, and then we'll jump to Daryl, and then Sarifa, because I know Sarifa is the closest to Yasmin.
Yeah. Okay.
Please, the screen is yours.
Okay. Well, I must say that when I saw Sharifa on screen this morning, and I felt like, I can see the whole Orchid Quartet films immediately, and I wouldn't be here without Yasmin. That I can tell you that much. I think I remember seeing her presenting one of, I think, her most powerful work, and it was not a film back in the, I think, 97, 98. So she came to Jakarta to present the Little Indian Boy. That's the commercial for Petronas. And I think during that period of time, I was actually getting tired of advertising, because I just thought that, okay, is this something that I'm going to do until, a few years from now? I don't see myself spending the rest of my life doing advertising. So when I saw Little Indian Boy, I was like, oh my goodness, you could do this. And she's an advertising lady. So I could immediately projected, the possibility of my next path by seeing that one commercial. We didn't talk that much because I wasn't even aware that she's going to prepare her next, her first feature film back then. But that's how I met her, which I think is interesting, because I think I was stuck in the room in the middle of one of these fancy cafe. Was it Planet Hollywood or Hard Rock Cafe? I forgot. And a lot of advertising people were there to see the commercial, because there were a lot of talks about the commercial itself. So I saw the work first, and then later I managed to say hi to Yasmin, so it was like a very quick hello. And she came across as someone who's very approachable, who's very energetic, and who's very positive and also humble. I think us being Indonesians, we immediately can see a lot of similarities between us and our friends from Malaysia and Southeast Asia, basically, also Singapore. And what I saw in the film immediately explained a lot to me about who Yasmin is. So there's nothing in her work, be it a piece of advertising or writing or films, which doesn't, reflect her personalities. I would use the word that I saw from Amir Muhammad. To him, there's always like some sort of signature that comes very strongly. Yasmin's signature in each and everything she does, and to us, it's very inspiring. Of course, I mean, well, not to say that she's a woman, and then for us, of course, it's like, okay, she can do that. I might probably be able to do that as well, So, yeah, she left very lasting impression to those who met her. I can say that
Mhm.
to you now. You know.
Oh wow, that's inspiring. I didn't know about that part of the story. Okay, maybe we will. What about you, Darren?
For me, I myself, I think I came into contact with Yasmin's films was a bit late for me. As you know, I'm consider myself still quite new in filmmaking field. I actually started working in also related to advertising. I was an animation computer graphics student, and I work in post-production house. So I think the production house that I work in Kuala Lumpur, because I remember my boss, he also run this one of this very small, used to be quite a popular film festival in Malaysia. It's called the Malaysian Video Awards. And I think because of that, sometimes we work in the post-production house. We get to see people from the film industries, from the production house. They come by to drop by. And I think there's this one day, you know, when we work in post-production house, we always work overnight, not enough sleep, and then we go to the office very late. And I walk to the office. There's this car. It's like a small car, drive by, and I saw this woman inside the car. She's not driving. She's somebody. The driver is someone else. She's sitting at the passenger side, and I don't know her, and I don't think she know me either. And she smiled. I remember that smile, very kind. It's like someone you know for a very long time. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too, and I'm just wondering, who is this? Like, why is she so smile to me, so kind, and I feel so warm, and only then later through my colleague, I know that she's a very popular filmmaker, Yasmin Ahmad, and even until today, no matter how many films of her or commercial of her I watch, I still remember that moment when she smiled at me, with me in that moment outside the road at the roadside. I think that kind of warm, that kind of feeling I can feel from her film. And then only after that, when I moved from post-production company, I quit doing all the animation stuff, and then I moved to the production, but also in film, also in advertising production house. And I will often hear a lot about Yasmin Ahmad, but unfortunately, it's not really positive things. There's always people who are. I think that time she already made like films like Sepad, and there's always other film directors from the advertising field that I don't know why they didn't like her works. I don't know why, and the way, and you know, like Yasmin, she likes to challenge all this she likes to portray all these diversity things in the film, and sometimes I hear people say a lot about, they feel like it's like kind of like showing off. She feels like you know. So these are all the things that I heard from the environment that I work. But I because that time myself, I still consider myself still young. I didn't know much about film. I don't know much about it. But I actually watched her film like Gubra in the cinema. I remember I watched Gubra in the cinema. I remember I was like going out. I asked my colleague, you know, we stopped the work and then we go out and we wanted to watch that film in the cinema. And Thailand Time, I watched in the cinema. And Yeah, so that, sorry, I talked very long time. And I think that is the one of the memory that I have. I didn't have chance to meet her in person. I feel a bit sad about that. You know? So but anyway, I feel so glad that I have a chance to watch her films. Yeah. So that's from me for the moment. Yeah. Thank you.
And Sharifah?
Hi everybody. Thanks for having me. For me, I met her. It's very cosmic lah. I don't know. Yasmin and I, we what was it in Sepet? The word in Mandarin, Yunfen, takdir, destiny, right? Jadi, I was 17, and at 17 in Malaysia, you basically just graduated high school, and you're waiting for your results to enter uni or college after that. I was walking around at 3 a.m. as you do when you're a teenager, having fun with my older sister at a very popular eatery in Hatamat in Malaysia, in KL. And yeah, we were chilling out like teenagers do. And suddenly I saw this lady with a family friend, Jit Murad. Jit Murad is basically one of our most famous and amazing playwrights in Malaysia. And he had worked with my mother, and yeah, he's a family friend. So my family, okay, just a backstory. My family, because of my mother who did stage, has always been in the circuit of acting, theatre, film, and TV and everything else. So when we met Jit Murad at 3 a.m. at the side of the road, we jumped up. It's like, Uncle Jit. My sister and I ran over to him. And he was with this lady at 3 a.m. in a baju kurung. Now, the baju kurung that we wear, it is, I don't know, it's not considered, it is traditional, and people don't usually wear it, just like every day or just to go anywhere. Sometimes it's just for a special occasion. So it's weird, kind of, especially at that time, in our modern times, to see this lady at 3 a.m. in a baju kurung and sneakers. And I was like, who is this person? Why she's so weird? It's like, why are you at 3 a.m. wearing baju kurung? So okay, fine. So we hung out with Jit Murad at that table, and Yasmin was there as well. And we were being teenagers. We were talking very loudly, laughing, telling all kinds of stories. Like, people are actually interested in our stories. But she was very quiet. She was observing. Little did I know. Later, I found out that she was observing. A week later, Jit Murad had called my mom and said that Yasmin Ahmad would like to audition the younger of the two, because my sister was there as well, the younger of the two for her next film, Sepet, because he had just watched Rabun. So at that time, I was 17 and so naive. So I was like, who is Yasmin Ahmad? I don't know, right? And my mom was like, the commercials that you love, like all the commercials that you talk about, and it's a big deal in schools. That's the writer and director. And I was like, oh my God, right? So obviously I would want to go and work with her. So I think like a week later after that, we had script readings and audition. And there was another girl there who looked exactly like me. Big eyes, long hair, and there was a Chinese boy as well. So when we had this reading, that was the first time I held the Sepet script in my hands, and she had left us there, and she said, read it lah. So I read it, and the moment I read it, I said that I have to be in this film because this is my story, this is my family story. My mother's mother, my grandmother, is Chinese, Tan Moiji, and she married an Indian Muslim man. At the time that, it wasn't very popular, I guess, to have intercultural marriages, I guess. So when I read it, I said, oh my God, this is my family story, I have to do, no other person can do. So, at 17 years old, I don't know how I came up with this plan, but the moment I realized I had to be part of it, the moment I realized that I was Orchid, I cooked up this plan to make sure that everybody else left, and I had told my boyfriend at that time, darling, you pick me up at this house. I gave him the address. So everybody left first. I told him to pick me up a little bit later. And because I wanted one-on-one time with Yasmin, because as a person, I felt like I knew her already. I felt very close to her already. So I felt that I wanted time with her. So after everybody went home, and the girl who looked like me also went home, I stayed back. And I told her about my grandmother, and I told her how close this story is to my family. And when my boyfriend finally came to pick me up at that time, I don't know why I did it last time lah, but I don't know. I turned around to Yasmin, I said goodbye, and then before I left to get in the car, I said, if you want a good film, pick me. And I got in the car and I regret. And I was like, oh my God, why did I say that? Why did I say that? It's so embarrassing. It's so, it's so action, you're so mengada, you're so wah. And then later on, years later, Yasmin said that was the reason she chose me as Orchid, because it reminded her of her when she was younger. A young girl with moxie, a young girl with, that strength and that courage. So that's how I met Yasmin Ahmad. The rest is history.
Yes, and we are grateful to have Orchid, to have you as an Orchid. Okay, so in continuation to that, you've already mentioned, but Prima already mentioned that the first impression of Yasmin is her works not in film but in advertisement. But personally, for all of you, what is the most influential work of Yasmin Ahmad from your point of view, and why this work affects you?
Okay. You're asking me or any of us?
But any of you who are ready to answer?
Well, yes. For me, I kind of expect that you guys are going to ask me these questions, and it's kind of difficult. But I think one of the most powerful and impactful to me was Rabun and Sepat. Coming from this kind of culture, we know the humor, we know the awkwardness aspect of our daily lives, I think we've come from a quite relaxed society, for coming from Southeast Asia. And not everybody can portray that in such a natural way, the way Yasmin did through her films. So when I saw this intimacy scene in Rabun, for example, for the first time, I was like, wow, she got balls to portray that, But you know what I mean? Of course, people know what I mean. But that is us, I've learned a lot about being honest and being a little bit more brave, in addressing our daily lives and put it on the big screen. Like, why not, Yasmin, in her way, in her own unique way, because she's a unique person, has taught us a lot about being, hey, it's cool being us, so what, So we're multicultural, so we probably some product of interracial marriage, so what, that is the kind of attitude that, to me is a big legacy and has taught us a lot along the way in the way we approach our work. And also because I'm friends with some of the Malaysian filmmakers like Amir Muhammad and Ho Yu Hang and Bernard Shawley. I think I'm quite lucky to be able to get to know our Malaysian friends more than just on a service, because I really see a lot of similarities that we don't actually talk about, to us, maybe to the Westerners, people always see us with, these people have a lot of problems, they're not rich, they have, a lot of problems, they're, most of them are Muslims, that's the way we're being perceived. But if you see Yasmin films, suddenly we see a little bit more layers, a little bit more depth, yet we can actually relax and see ourselves through her films. And that's why I think, I love, to be honest with you, it's very difficult to pick because I love all the Orchid stories,
Yes,
from beginning to end, you know what I mean? Because, but I think collectively that is the impact that Yasmin work have brought to me and influenced me so far.
Who wants to say something next? Sharifa maybe, or Daryl?
For me, I think I think it has to be Sepet. When Rabon came out, it was just for TV. Yes, she made waves because we've never seen affection from an old couple that intimately before on our TV. Yeah, it's on our TV channels, and it is also the political aspect of how people from the village or kampong, it's supposed to be, oh, they're more rooted, you know, they're better people, they're more pious, and people in the cities, you know, they're a bit crude, they're a bit this, and how she shifted that, you know, humans are humans, regardless where they live or where they come from. You know, if you're going to cheat, if you're going to lie, you're going to do it anyways. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from. I think her ability to humanize people and just to put Malaysians on the big screen as jujur, as truthfully as she could. There's really nothing bombastic or huge or different that she showed us. You know, we know this. We're Malaysian. We know this. There's a huge don't ask, don't tell policy that we all have in Malaysia. You can do, but don't talk about it, you know. But yeah, Yasmin, what she did was she just zoomed in on it, you know. Yeah, rather unapologetically and quite beautifully, I think, as an audience member. Yes, I was part of those films, and those films are part of me. But years later, when I watch it and I see how it still affects people today, it's amazing. I think during this pandemic this year, I think it was maybe June, July, Linus, the actor who played Kyong, he felt that he missed Yasmin. He felt that he missed us, and he felt that, you know, it was kind of a bleak time in Malaysia for our industry because, yeah, you know, art practitioners in Malaysia, I don't know everywhere else, but most of the time we are non-essential. So, he decided to remind people how essential it is to be kind, how essential it is to love one another, to stick by each other and to stand up for each other. So he shared Sepet again on YouTube, and it went nuts. People, you know, the kids who haven't watched it, you know, they were like, oh my God, I didn't know there was a film like this and all this. Until today, you know, people who watched it years ago still ask me, Adik, siapa angkat telefon tu? It's like, Adik, who answered the telephone? Until today, you know, I get threatened by people like, tell me, who was it? And it's again different when we go to film festivals overseas, right? And we come across foreigners, or we call it mak saleh, you call it white people, bule, kan? They are very confused. It's like, you Muslim? It's like, yes, but you don't look Muslim. And it's like, what do you think Muslim look like? You see? So yeah, and when they see Sepet and they see Muslims, not the kind of Muslims that they see on their media. We're laughing, we've got family, we fall in love, we touch, you know, we pray, we have our faith. But yeah, they just can't get it, you know, and they're so interested in it. And there's so many factors of what is it, being Malay, Malaysian, Muslim, all in one film. It's great. It's great to see how it affects people to this day. It was in 2005, if I'm not mistaken. I was 17, I'm 34 now. People still talk about the same things. They still ask me the same things. And it's great. It's great to have that one film or that one moment capsulized so that our generations later can see this was us. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Good. And Daryl?
I think that this question is very cruel because it's really hard to choose. Sorry, but you know, for me, it's really hard for me to choose. To ask me like which film is the most influential for me, I think like what Sharifa just mentioned as well. Like I watched Sepet recently, and I still love it so much, and I still believe that the film's many things in the film still relate to the people, and although it's there's a lot of all this this little details that maybe only Malaysians can understand, but I feel it's quite universal. You know, I feel it's quite universal, and for me, I also agree with Prima about Rabun, because I feel Rabun is like a very it's like the first step that opened up Malaysian to let Malay, at least for me, from my point of view, is that to let Malaysian realize that the cinema or film can be like this actually. You know, I think is you are not seeing something very how to say, like something very is everything you see of in Yasmin film is what you see in your life, in your reality. You see honesty, and Rabun itself also means like falling eyesight, right? The shots falling eyesight, right? So for me, the first opening scene is already very capture my heart. That it, and throughout the films, that the way she play a lot with the off-screen voices, the how you want to see, it's really about how we want to see the perceptions and everything. And whether you want to talk about multicultural, diverse, how diverse, or even even in the same race, Chinese, among Chinese people themselves, I'm myself, I'm a Chinese person. I mean, even among the Chinese, we have like different classes, different thinking. So I feel it's really universal, and I think the most influential for me is that her spirit, her body of work as a whole. That and I always respect her. For me, she tried to make a film, try to tell a story that that not forcing you to think what exactly what she want you to think. It's like she give you the freedom, and you know, like sometimes, for at least for me, I see in Malaysia local films or sometimes people kind of choose to go to cinema to watch a film based on the language. Chinese will go to watch a Chinese film or what, you know, this still happens today. And I think what I find Yasmin film is that her film can be watched by people from different culture. Yeah. So I think that is the most influential, what do you call that? Like her idea, yeah, her aspect of that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think I'm interested when Daryl was saying earlier, some people said that they don't like Yasmin's film. You said that's what you said, right? And because coming from an advertising background myself, I can't understand that. Not that I necessarily agree. If you remember during the 90s until the earlier 2000s, I think advertising always identical to anything glamorous and fancy, and you know that's why on the later days of my advertising days, toward the end, I was actually getting quite depressed about it, because you're focusing on, you know, what seems to be beautiful, luxurious, glamorous, you know, it's things like that. And consequently, when you do advertising, not all of it, of course, but most of them, you'll be focusing on shot by shot aesthetically, you know. But I think Yasmin's film is really the opposite of that. You know, she's focusing on the soul, you know, the substance of the story, the human aspect, and she never, you know, portray anything glamorous or luxurious or things like that. That was not the focus of her work, you know. Well, even on my earlier days as a screenwriter and filmmaker, when we try to play around the digital medium, for example, I remember a lot of people were trying to make the digital product and make it as to pursue the film look. And people like Mira, Lusmana, Riri, Riza, and myself learned a lot about it because there's no way you can do it. You need to go back and visit the story, the kind of story that you want to tell, and able to shoot it digitally. Otherwise, that wouldn't be the end of it, So of course, people would say that, oh yeah, but it doesn't look like an expensive film and things like that. So I think she came at a very interesting, time when a lot of things were changed back then, from 35 celluloid to digital and things like that. And from, the way people explore the storytelling, including the dogma films, for example, in Denmark and things like that. And she, for sure, knew a lot about film history, filmmaking, and love films a lot, I'm sure she's seen a lot of films and read a lot, of course, So I think this can be seen in her films. So, and for a lot of people who just see, film as a mean of entertainment, it took them probably some time to get what Yasmin was trying to say, But so I understand that this is the kind of risk that she was willing to take. I'm sure even back then she knew that not everyone would agree to her or would like her work. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think I've read some of the critics faced by Yasmin last decade that coming from certain parties who believe that people from advertising should not make films. But I think Yasmin proof is wrong. I think that's one of the important Yasmin's legacy to these days. I mean, I agree with all of you about all the films. Her film is very personal, like breaking down invisible barriers, even though until now my heart's still broken for Jason and Orchid. and when I saw the ending of Gubra, I had a feeling that Yasmin was teasing us, really. Well, anyway, let's continue. Okay, the three of you have been experiencing something after seeing Yasmin's movies. And Yasmin has been writing and directing her film. In your point of view, based on your experience and as an actress, director, screenwriter, how this duality, write and directs one's film, influence the final result of her movies? Do you find it's one of the reasons she made such a remarkable work because she write and direct?
I think everything about Yasmin again is unique. She's one of a kind. I'm not sure, other than Yasmin, can pull both of both worlds in such a way. Advertising and films, although lots of similarities, yet quite different. But if you notice, she keep on working with the same people. So she's really good in putting people together and working as a team. I mean, in most of her films, I believe that the key person were the same people. And there is also another learning to us, filmmakers in Indonesia, that there is another possibility in approaching your work. You can keep it small in terms of scale, yet you're focusing on the right people on the right position, which I think is a very, very useful knowledge that we can consider if we want to make films and get the creative control and also control the budget and things like that. I think that, a lot of what we see as the end product of Yasmin's films, I'm sure they're all by design. There's nothing coincidental, although she could be quite spontaneous, but she got these things on her mind. And to me, she approached her work, be it a piece of advertising or commercial, or films as a storyteller, and she's a damn good storyteller. You know, I mean, the deal is when Yasmin speaks, people listen. That's it. You know, so that's it. You know, I mean, there's no one like her. So what else can I say? You know?
I think what they call charisma. Okay. And Sharifah, maybe you have something to say about that?
Tapi cerita aku panjang kok. My story is gonna be a bit long. So
No, it's
yeah,
okay. Please.
I think one of the she's a damn good storyteller. No argument about that. I think when we hang out, sometimes it'll be like watching a stand-up comedy, performance. Sometimes it's a really good TED talk and a lecture, and she doesn't care where and what, and it's so great. I think a lot that I learned from her is when we did our Q&A sessions all over the world, and I was just there as the actress. Little did I know at 18, 19 that I was listening to gems of knowledge, and it's amazing that I remember it until now. MashaAllah. But yes, another quality of Yasmin that is very, 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 very important and very, very, like it was a big deal in her working punya way was the same people, working with the same people and trusting the same people. Now, she was very much a collaborator, but what she had with her, what she knew and what she was in charge of totally was the story. Once the story was done, her eyes, Kyung, her DOP, will get the script. And Pete Abdullah, her first AD, will get the script. Then her second AD, Pete Hanif. So there will be this group of people, and her editor will be on set, Afandi. These are her eyes, her hands, her left hand, her right hand, her body. And these are the people that worked with her in commercials until film. I think I was so spoiled being brought into the industry through a Yasmin Ahmad film, because we would rehearse for 3 months, rehearsal 3 months, pre-production was 6 months. For a tiny film like Sepet, there's no action, there is no all kinds of huge shots or moving in or nothing, but the amount of dedication, the amount of love poured into it, the amount of preparation that she did beforehand, because she knew that whatever that would happen on set is whatever Allah decides, right? So for her, it was so important to get whatever it is that she could control as much as she could down before we went on set. Lead actors and the head of departments will leave for set, usually it will be Ipoh or somewhere outside of Kuala Lumpur, 2 weeks beforehand to rehearse on set. So Orchid's house was my house. The guava tree outside my house was my guava tree, my room, my thing. And we weren't acting after a while. She allowed us to totally be in that world. And, and we had people taking care of everything. And it was great that she trusted these people to tell a story alongside with her. It was that's really special. That whole group of people that I grew up with since I was 17 up till they shaved my head bald in Mu'alaf when I was 21. These are the same people I grew up with. These are the same people that I worked with as third AD in Talent Time. Talent Time I didn't act. I was the third AD, and that was my uni of filmmaking. And I got to see, I experienced in front of the screen, right? How it was to work with Yasmin in front of the camera, and then later on in Talent Time behind the camera. And I see how my family works. I see how dedicated we are. I see how invested we all are. Everybody knew the story. Even the key grid, because like Uncle Pete, our first AD would gather everyone together and tell us the story. Whoever didn't read the script, he would tell the crew from gaffer to everybody, So this is what happens in the film. So everybody gets invested in the film. Even our focus puller, he's so invested that the last scene in Gubra, when I open the box and I see all the things, our focus puller was crying, and that's how it was on the Yasmin set. I think good vibes, the ability to trust everybody, the ability to know that we did as much as we could and let go for things to happen, for magic to happen. Because, you know, Yasmin's very famous lah. She would say, what is the film philosophy? I love this because we were in Paris, I think, at that time. And they had asked, a room full of Mak Saleh, all these people, and they were asking, you know, Yasmin, what is your filmmaking philosophy? And she was so simple. It was like, whatever Allah allows me to capture, whatever God allows me to capture, and that's about it. And that's what we did every day for 2 weeks, and then we would go home. So yeah, it was that. It was, she knew the script, she had her team, she trusted her team, and she let go.
And Daryl, you want to say something about this?
I just want to, because Sharifah, because I was, to be honest, I'm not so familiar with how Yasmin work. So it's very interesting for me to hear from Prima and Sharifah. I actually wanted to hear more about that as well. But I'm just, because Sharifah, you were just mentioned about 2 weeks for the whole shoot. That's amazing. Because
Mu'alaf was 10 days.
Wow.
So pre-pro, right? So she's from commercial. So commercial, you know, you're dealing with clients' money. So it's not funny, right? So she like, it was 6 months pre-pro for a film that got no CGI, got no wire, got nothing. And she would do that, right? And rehearsal again and again. And the thing about rehearsal was that it was never read the script and memorize. It was creating memories. So it would be me and Jason in the corner eating nasi lemak, and she would leave us, right? She would leave us, and me and my husband in the corner, played by Adlin Aman Ramli, arguing, and she would leave us, right? Sometimes, you know, when you trust in your casting, when you trust in your actors, you know magic is supposed to happen. You know when to come in and enhance, which he did in Gubra. If you remember the scene between when I finally catch my husband with somebody else and Ellen is with me and action, and the first take like tak jadi, it's like something goes wrong somewhere, you know, she comes to me and she whispers, you know, after you shout at him, you hold Ellen's hand and you shout, you go off. I said, how can you do that? You tell Ellen or not? It's like, no, I didn't tell Ellen. It's like, you don't tell Ellen lah, you just do. I said, the fella going to be shocked. I said, never mind, we just do it. Okay, action. So I scream, my husband, take her home. And I grab Ellen's hand and I shout. Ellen's face was like, what? You know, and so that is the strength of Yasmin also, is because she worked us for 3 months rehearsal, because she pre-pro for 6 months. On set, you can do whatever you want. You can change it up, you can do this and do that, because your actors are so rooted. I do not act as Sharifah Amani, I react as Orchid. That is my husband, that is my lover, that is my mother, you know, and she gave us that space and that trust. And sometimes I feel not everybody knows how to do that. Not everybody knows how to be an actor's director. Most of the time they tell us what to do, but they don't lead us how to feel. And that's what I think Yasmin did the best.
Daryl, you want to say something again?
I think that's really amazing. I of course I cannot speak on behalf of why is it because of Yasmin is a scriptwriter and director at the same time, so that her film is remarkable. I don't think I have the position to say that. And also because I never really have a chance to, you know, to work with her, like how, you know, I used to really hope to have a chance to work with her. But I think for me myself as a director, scriptwriter, I think whether you are writing your script with someone or you are just a scriptwriter, the director is about, I think Yasmin she's honest to tell the story, and she sees everyone not just like, you know, you are actor, you are actress, you are just that, and then you are playing role. But I think I don't know, I feel the sense of family, whether even though you are crew members and you are actors, you are part of it. And I wouldn't feel this when I think I have this kind of like a very, like this kind of feeling when I watch Muxin. I love the ending scene so much. Because you are seeing all this, like I see Orchid again, I see Jason and Orchid. It's kind of like teasing in the scene, the kite scene. I feel so warm about that. And you see a lot of these characters, they returns, but now they are playing different roles. And I don't know about how another person look at it, but then I see it, even though you can see it like a very different personalities, almost like a very big families with different backgrounds and everyone. And then in the end, it's just like, you know, one film crews, everyone comes in, it's like, wow. I think that itself is like a family. So I don't know whether it's that because of that make her film remarkable or what, but I think I feel the sense of family, the honesty there.
Okay. So maybe let's go a bit further. A few years ago, I think a decade ago, there was a strong association that Malaysian independent films tend to be in Chinese. I think it's because there is a Tan Chui Mui, Liu Seng Tat, and then come Yasmin Ahmad into the scene, or maybe the other way around. I don't know which come first. I don't know if it's still the case today. Is there still this kind of stereotype where people associate Malaysian independent films with the Chinese language?
Well, this is an interesting topic because I don't see it that way. You know, to me, maybe it's due to the fact that well, that depends on which Malaysian filmmaker who did the film. You know, I mean, if it's coming from Amir Muhammad, it's most probably in Malay, right? Or Yasmin, you know. But I think, well, to be fair, most of Malaysian filmmakers that I know are Chinese, are of Chinese descent. So they use, is it Hokkien or it's not Mandarin, right? Mostly Hokkien, I think. Like
Hokkien,
Cantonese.
Cantonese and
Cantonese.
yeah. But then again, still to me, it doesn't feel like Chinese films. You know, I mean, it's Malaysian films portraying the Chinese Malaysian society. They have that kind of texture that I gather from, regardless whether it's James Lee's films or Yu Hang's films or, you know, Mui's films or Liu Seng Tat films. They have this very strong identity. Basically, what I love about, to be honest, about independent Malaysian films, they portray the side of Malays that we cannot see, you know, that we don't normally see. You know, so it's the opposite of all kind of stereotypes. You know what I mean? And yeah, well, that's why I think it's very interesting to see their films. You know, the independent version or side of filmmaking in Malaysia, because in their own way they're quite rebellious. You know. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I can tell you that I can relate more to their stories and their characters as opposed to the, well, for the lack of the better term, commercial versions of, you know, Malaysian films. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I think because for me personally, I'm a Chinese.
Yes.
But I don't consider myself like a Chinese filmmaker. I'm a Malaysian filmmaker. I make films about Malay and Chinese. And yeah, I understand that. Where's your point? I mean, you see sometimes you see a lot of like certain Chinese oriented indie films or what, or the Malay oriented one. But to be fair, like I think like what Prima mentioned, I think filmmakers has to tell stories that close to them. I think for me is much better to tell something that you know, that you're familiar with, rather than you try to pretend that you know to tell about another person's stories. I don't know about I don't know, I can talk a little bit about this. I'm not sure about the feature film, the movie industry in Malaysia after Yasmin Ahmad, but there's a lot of influence and copycat after Yasmin Ahmad, especially in the app. So they did a lot of all this intercultural relationship, but of course in a much, it's not, again, is to be fair, yes, it's okay, you know, you can copy, you can do that, whatever, but I'm just saying that sometimes there are some filmmakers in Malaysia that maybe they just good in telling stories about the Chinese community, or maybe just about the Indian community. I think it's not really wrong about that, but also I support what Prima mentioned just now. They show the other side of the Chinese that we Chinese don't even know. The other side of the Indian community that the Indian doesn't even know. But sometimes that multicultural, that diversity is part of it.
Yeah.
It appears everywhere in their film.
Yes.
Rather than because I think Yasmin opened up this as a, you know, you tell you what, our world, we are like this, we live like this, and why not we can have, you know, intercultural relationships. She opened up this, for me, she opened up this. And now you look at each of them, you can look at each of them closely, and the diversity is still there. We are not segregating each one, you know, I try to look at it that way.
Yeah. I think just like us in Indonesia, the diversity is given. We're born in it, you know. And for us to, most of us, it's never a problem unless somebody tries to address it, you know, in one form, and then it becomes a problem. But on a day-to-day basis, when we don't talk about it, you know, everything is okay, which is kind of annoying, you know. But yeah, but that's the reality. So I think, yeah, I mean, I understand so much of what you're trying to say when people try to copy Yasmin, and I hope that it's a phase, you know, just a stage of you know, probably younger generation trying to find their own voice. I hope, you know, and if else, come on, let's face it, I would rather people, you know, look up to Yasmin and try to copy her work rather than a much less talented filmmaker.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Actually, it's not a negative
yeah, of course, yes.
comment about
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, it's it's just a remark. Yeah. No censorship here.
For me, I think our cinema industry or storytelling in Malaysia is very much like us also. We got a lot of different languages, dialects, styles, all kinds of different ways to communicate. You've got religion, so it's a big melting pot of everything. So we have the mainstream, and then you have the indies, right? But within those indie and mainstream also got some more different groups. I love it. I mean, I love it. I don't care, because I think, you know, we're a big bowl of rojak, you know, it's all kinds of different things in it, but we're all in the same sauce, you know. We don't have to mix together and become one thing, because it's unique and it's tasty when we have different textures and different tastes all the time. So I love the fact that we're rojak. It's just that, you know, when when I say, you know, when you make a commercial film also, you make Chinese commercial film, you got my Chinese friend go say, hey, where got Chinese like that? You know, you make an indie Tamil film, right? And you've got Indians going, oh yeah, I don't behave like that, where got? You know, it's amazing. It's Malaysia. I don't know we don't know what's right, what's wrong, but we still make. So alhamdulillah, I think that's what we should do. We just should continue. And I like the fact that we have to continue making, I don't care what, but constantly, so that the future generations can see, wow, we really rojak, man. Because for us, when we want to see the Malays in the 50s, maybe we watch P. Ramlee films, right? And that's how they spoke and wore and acted and whatever. And so now this is us now, right? 2020 Malaysia, what are you, right? So it can be independent film being Chinese or independent film being Indian, Malay, or whatever. I'm very excited now because I've been judging a few competitions for short films and watching different independent films by our young filmmakers, and I'm so happy. Most of them, there are a lot of them who are influenced by Yasmin and Amir and our rebel filmmakers. They call it rebel last time, but there's nothing rebel about it, actually. Actually, they're just talking, they're just telling and showing how these Malaysians are. But because I guess in our mainstream, it is, we go for the gloss. Like Prima cakap tadi, it is all about the gloss and the cantik and the making money. Jadi kadang-kadang sometimes when the people are trying to do honest story atau zooming into everyday Malaysian life, jadi suddenly you're a rebel. Oh, pencemar budaya. That's what they call Yasmin last time, pencemar budaya. You are tainting your culture. When Sepet won Best Film, they got so angry. It's like, oh, you're tainting the culture. It's like, friend, what culture are you talking about, friend? And now, oh, Sepet and Yasmin feels national treasure. It's very weird. And who knows, 10 years down the line, we might be tainting the culture again. And then it might not be. I guess that's art, If people try to dissect and put us in different groups, like humans as well, right? They try to dissect, they try to put us in different groups, but at the end of the day, we are us, and that's about it.
Yeah. Allow me to say to Sharifah, maybe you should direct. I mean, seriously. I mean, I heard you talking, and I just realized that, you graduated from Yasmin's School of Film, so, there's nothing better than that. So maybe at least you write lah.
I have directed 4 short films now.
You should see that. How do I see that?
Jadi on my Twitter, there's like my first one and second one is on YouTube. The third one and the fourth one is not yet online.
Well,
I will let you know. Yeah, so I have written.
Excellent. I'm so happy to direct. No, seriously.
Thank you, Alhamdulillah. So saya menulis, I've written it, I directed it, and then I acted in it as well. Yeah, harus. Because harus. Jadi because I think after Yasmin passed away, there's not many roles yang saya mau bawa. It's not a lot of films that, especially roles for women, kan?
No, I understand.
Yeah, so for me, that was what I did, and you're talking about the same people, kan? So my DOP is Yasmin's first AD, Pete Abdullah, and I've had the closest people that I grew up with since I was 17 on my set sometimes. This one is a bit nostalgic, jadi because I'm considered kan the first daughter. I'm okay. Jadi after Yasmin passed away, we didn't have a reason to come together as a family. So after a while, I wanted to do the eldest daughter's job to bring everybody back. So once in a while, Alhamdulillah, I get the chance to bring people back to tell stories, and it's quite fun. Yeah,
I'm happy to hear that. Or what? I mean, seriously, I'm gonna need to see those films.
Okay, I will tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
It's available in YouTube.
Ada 2 di YouTube, 2 in YouTube, and 2 more it's not on YouTube yet. But I think all 3 pernah ditayangkan in Japan. It was screened in Tokyo before. The last one premiered in Singapore International Film Festival.
All right. Then we have to see those films.
Okay,
for sure.
Okay, so let's continue. This is getting interesting, this discussion, but we talk about this before we record this discussion about the access and for today's generation, especially in Malaysia and Indonesia, access and receive or perceive Yasmin's films.
Yeah.
Maybe we should re-talk about that here on record.
Yeah.
Because we find it difficult to watch Yasmin's film everywhere.
Well, I
And
think the ridiculous thing is for us to be able to see each other's films or films from Southeast Asia, even for us, the Southeast Asian filmmakers, we have to wait until we get invited to one of those big festivals like in Busan or Tokyo. That's ridiculous, you know? And it's hilarious. But in our case, in Indonesia, basically those who's like myself based in Jakarta, we were lucky because our first introduction with a bang to Malaysian films, it was from nonetheless then Amir Muhammad, who's also another figure equally as unique as Yasmin, I should say. But it was very relaxed, you know, so he brought some films, and then I still remember the Raya Makarim, now the producer and also a screenwriter, was still work for the Teater Hutan Kayu, so we held private screening and we talk about that. That's how we get to know everybody. But you know what? I think what works for us in Southeast Asia is anything that is part of our own beings, our own culture. If you make it informal, we're fine. You know, we're not good in. To me, we're not good in handling anything formal. You know, we mess it up. But if we just hang out, like I don't know, you know, in some
eating
and talk, I mean, all of a sudden we can be ourselves and relax and funny and smart even, you know. But if you put us in a forum, for example, you know, that, you know, it's usually, unless you're Yasmin Ahmad, of course, we cannot handle it. So I don't know, maybe we have to think along that way, how to make some sort of informal forum, you know, who would support each other's in terms of accessing and discussing the films, you know. And I think it's always good. I've learned that way myself. When we can also access not just the film, but also the filmmakers, then you can get a more comprehensive point of view and the vision of the filmmaker, you know, by their own versions. We understand why they do what they do, you know, and we learn from them, right? So maybe we have to think along that line, I think. You know, and all this informal contact, you know, that's what keeps us going. I think every time Yu Hang come to town, for example, to shoot a commercial, then he would make time to hang out with us. And that's how we know, oh, you know, Sentat is doing this, Tan Shui Mu is doing that, and then, you know, and we get updated on what people are doing in Malaysia, for example, and also the other way around. But that is also, that's all informal. Otherwise, like I said, you know, it's ridiculous. We have to go all the way to Tokyo, buy their invitations, or Busan, and
Rotterdam.
No, even, yes, or Rotterdam. And even their programmers, they label us as the Southeast Asian filmmaker family, because we would stuck like glue and hang out all the time, and then somebody would fetch us, you know, it's you know, it's time for you to go to present your film there, because we still have our coffee and what's not, you know. That's us. So you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's the homework, I guess. That's the homework that we need to resolve, because we would lose a lot of opportunities to grow. And let's face it, you know, to grow and educate ourselves, if not, or if these films cannot be accessed, or if the filmmakers, we don't have the chance to get to know on a more personal level. That's my thought about this.
Daryl, you want to say something about the access of a Malaysian or Indonesian film? You?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what Prima mentioned just now. Is there's a lot of film even from, like, I mean, you mean also like Malaysian and Indonesian films, right? There's a lot of great films that, like, I have to wait for the chance to be invited to the festival, then only I can watch. Like one of my my favorite director, Joseph Anggi's film.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, he like, for example, his film, the Solo Solitude. I was able to only have chance to watch it when one of this university in Malaysia invite him come, like a screening session, and then you discuss with Joseph himself. So only with this kind of opportunity, then we have more chance to watch. And of course, for Yasmin films, some I watch it in. I was fortunate enough to watch it in a cinema when they released in the cinema. Mualaf wasn't in cinema, if not mistaken. So some of her other films, I was, to be honest, I watched it from DVD. Those time you still have DVD, but now is you cannot even get the DVD. Of course you have the legit one and the non-legit one, but it's hard to get that. So and not only that, I mean, even for a lot of Malaysian indie scene, the films, I mean, I did not have chance to watch it also. So I think it's important to just, we should gather a bit more. I don't know, now with a situation like this, I don't know how much we can do with the online gathering or screening or watch party or something like that.
Watch party.
Interesting that you mentioned DVD, because we can so relate to the DVD eras. And well, being friends with a lot of Malaysian filmmakers means that also I'm getting quite familiar with their upbeat sense of humor. So the thing is, like, for example, let me mention this, like Yu Hang, for example, he would ask me to accompany him to one of these pirated DVD vendors, and he said, okay, let me find out how famous we are now. And he asked the vendor, do you have any films by Ho Yu Hang? And of course, this is a DVD vendor in Jakarta. And they said, who's that? Okay, no. How about Yasmin Ahmad? Who's that? Or James Lee, and then the vendor said, what kind of film are you looking for? Because he's getting angry, right? And Yu Hang said, Malaysian films. Oh, we have Pontianak Harum Sundar Malam, so, and Yu Hang said, see, we're not famous. It's really sick yet funny, but yeah, those era was quite interesting. And well, let's be honest, of course we're exposed to that, I mean, even I know somebody in Japan who said that, oh, you know how I saw Ada Apa Dengan Cinta? I got it from a DVD pirate in Langkawi, and I thought it was a Malaysian film until I saw the film up until the end, So I was like, okay, I have this big love and hate relationship with pirated DVD, business. Of course, I mean, I'm not talking they're legit or anything like that, but on my salary when I was on advertising, there's no way that I could afford, original DVD by Hitchcock, for example, which cost me probably half of my salary, right? And yet we need to educate ourselves. So what else can you do? I mean, this is a controversial topic. I'm not endorsing pirated DVDs, but, I think in retrospect, a lot has happened in this past 10 years, right? Like from, 15 years even, from celluloid to digital, and the way we consume our films, from the big screen to commercial channels, television, until now, which people call OTT, or you can stream the film. I mean, that is something that is unheard of until, 5-6 years ago, right? Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I'm not supporting the pirated, definitely, but without it, I couldn't able to watch a lot of good films.
Thank you, Daryl. You're so my friend, because I mean, let's be honest about that.
But yeah, I mean, we have to. We were in that kind of situation that
Yeah.
Part of it.
Exactly. It's like when somebody asks me, how do you feel when you find out a student steal a book from a bookstore,
I feel guilty about it, but
you know, I mean, I would prefer to say no comment as in I'm all for the student, you know, because it's a good thing he still, you know, have the desire to learn. And this is the kind of thinking again, which I think is very Yasmin, you know. I mean, I like the idea that Yasmin taught us a lot about never apologize for being ourselves. And that is a huge learning. And if you I've read this book about Yasmin and then how people perceive her, remember her, I think that's the idea of being a Yasmin Ahmad, you know. She never apologized.
There's a reason why Jason in Sepet was the pirated DVD seller guy.
Oh yes,
you're right.
Of course, indeed.
Yeah.
There was a reason, guys. There's a reason why in Mu'alaf, the guy who was playing the bar owner, he is one of our very good friends, and he was the one who would supply us our foreign films. If not, we wouldn't get to watch any.
Yeah.
That's how much he loved them. That's how much we love them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're not endorsing it, but at the end of the day, got no access how,
on the same page.
Exactly, very much. Arwah Yasmin, when we would travel and she would find her pirated DVD of Sepet, let's say, in probably Thailand or Bangkok, she would freak out. It was like better than even winning the biggest award in the world.
Yeah.
You know, because to her, it's like people are watching her film. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That yang penting, that is the important part, that people are watching it, right?
Exactly.
So now so that's why it makes me a bit sad now that we can't seem to find a way to restore her films altogether and just put it on one platform so that everybody can enjoy. I mean, I'm so thankful for OTT platforms like Netflix and Mubi now, that I get to see our local Malaysian films from the 70s sometimes, you know, from whatever time, you know, and Indonesian films as well. You know, kalau dulu, I don't know where to find it, you know, and I have to go all the way to Jakarta and to get all my DVDs. Yeah, I'm in my office now. Tapi if I'm outside, you're talking about DVDs. My whole wall is covered with DVDs, and because I that's the way that I learn about people. I communicate with people is through stories. Jadi, you know, and that's how I made friends with filmmakers in Jakarta. I think the first time I met Abang Joko Anwar. He was the one he was like, Bang, I never seen your film. He was like, okay, let's go buy DVD. So he brought me to buy Pintu Telarang and, you know, and all this. And I became friends with them. And I totally agree with what Prima said about silaturahim, getting together between filmmakers. You'll meet kindred spirits. That's what I found out with Yasmin as well. I don't care where you're from, what language you speak, what films you like. You might like the totally opposite films. But if you're kindred spirit, for some reason, you guys will stick together regardless of the time that's in the middle of it all. Jadi, when I'm talking about this is when I get to be with my Southeast Asian filmmaking family. From everywhere, you know, like jadi we go to Tokyo or we go to different festivals all over. These are the moments that it's like time never passed, you know, and we're hanging out with each other, we're creating havoc again, you know. More and more Malaysians are working in Indonesia now. I mean, you know, basically you guys have an own Bron Palare and Cukinwa already. You know, basically mereka sudah jadi orang Indonesia.
I love those guys.
Yeah, but and we're so proud. You know, kalau ini export kami, it's like yes, this is we're very happy. You know, and with them, you know, every time Abang Joko is around KL, you know, every time he has a film premiere, we make it a point to go and make it a big deal. You know. And that's how we silaturahim. That's how we get together and continue the relationship, celebrating each other and celebrating each other's films.
Yeah.
So that's one way as makers that we can continue this whole. You watch my film, I watch your film. We are friends forever.
Yeah.
But for the legacy of our films and Yasmin's films. I think in Malaysia especially, we have to sort out the intellectual property thing. You know, I don't know who owns what. I don't know if this is, is it legal? And then, like, why can't it be, because Yasmin shot mostly on film, so it has to be remastered, it has to be digitized, and so all these kind of things come into play. So yeah, I think as a whole we can do much better lah. I don't know if we get help from the government also be quite great, right? Because I know if I say it sounds a bit like it's not about me, it's not about my films, it's about the fact that Yasmin's films have to be preserved, its heritage, its Malaysian heritage, its Malaysian legacy. So I mean, I would love if the government would come in, our perbadanan, our films, right, Tinas, they are the ones supposed to take care of our films, and this is one of the important films that we need to archive, from Rabun up to Talent Time, Mu'alaf and everything. I think it has to be, and there are so many more filmmakers as well in Malaysia whose films are, there's no access to it. You're talking about films from the 80s. I'm not talking about the 30s. I'm talking about, in the 80s. I can't access it anymore.
And
so,
you guys are yet to have a film archive, right? I mean, there is no film archive just yet. That actually concern not only you guys, but also us in Southeast Asia. I mean, imagine, how long do we have until we preserve all these films, like Sharifah just mentioned. I mean, these are the issues that is worth mentioning and discussing on a regional level, because we're talking about history. It's not just, entertainment per se,
we captured a generation. We need to know. We need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, it's we will continue with this. I have to interrupt because I still have a lot of questions here that needs to be addressed. Sorry. Okay, speaking of which, about Yasmin's legacy, Yasmin Ahmad left with unfinished film project, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, called Wasurenagusa. The project is ready. Yeah, the project is ready. The script has been written, the cast, the crew, and the funding is ready. And I heard that her sister, Orket Ahmad, is trying to offer it to other filmmakers to finish the project. Do you know what happened with the project now? And
so Wasura Nagisa was the last film we were supposed to do. I had already taken my horse riding lessons, my Japanese lessons. We were supposed to shoot in Japan. The script was already translated to Japanese, and I have it somewhere here. It's actually quite cool. But as fate would have it, it was not meant to be. So we didn't get to do it. Now, yes, there's been talks about Orchid, the real Orchid, Yasmin's sister, wanting to revive the project. But Yu Leong, Yasmin's husband, and I, and many of her crew, we stick to the bit where it wasn't something that she wanted to do at the end of towards the end. She had told her husband that, no, I don't want to do this film. And I think people who know Yasmin, we know when she makes a decision, it's definite. And I'm not about to go against a dying woman's, a dying? a pass away woman's wish. Yeah, so I'm not going to play that. So yeah, I guess if, I guess the right is theirs. I'm not sure. So if they do it, they're not going to do it with me.
Okay. Oh, really? And what do you think, Mbak Prima, about this kind of project? Like continuing someone's script to make it into film. Do you think it's possible to do, or?
Well, I think whether is it possible or not, that depends on a lot of things. But one thing is for sure, I think every decision, whether to proceed or to hold the production, should be based on ethic. It has to be, an ethical decision. And I understand what Sharifah was just explaining to us. You better don't go against it. Don't I mean,
Especially Yasmin.
exactly.
Karena she is orang yang she goes into a project with, you know, good intention, with the best of intention. Niat mendahului segala-galanya. Jadi, if you are doing something that she already said, jangan dibikin, do not do it.
Exactly.
I don't want to do that.
Don't touch it. Don't. You know, I mean,
Scary. I don't want.
Yasmin also, I think, was a very ethical person when I think about it. She's being very consistent. Every time somebody asks her, like, what is her, you know, recipe to success, she always said that always be respectful to your parents, work hard, and pray. She's being consistent with these 3 points. Because at first I thought, oh, well, she's just being polite. No, she actually lived her life that way. I think her shoot, well, this what I heard from a lot of people who work with her and know her very well, probably is the only shoot that is scheduled around the praying schedule. Is that right? See? I mean, to her, it is possible as long as you know you have the mission, you have the good intention, and you know you get your priorities straight. That's how you should live your life, you know. So I always respect that because I know I don't know that many people who could manage things the way she did. Right.
Okay. And maybe Daryl, do you want to add something? If you are offered a script was ready, everything is ready, just filming it.
No, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
It's against her will. I mean, why do it? Yeah.
No, I mean, if it's another film, you know, like not Yasmin Ahmad's film.
Then it really would depends.
Okay.
It really depends how much. For me, I wouldn't do anything that I don't know or I'm not familiar with. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's to the next question is about the position of female filmmaker from Southeast Asian context. When I remember in the beginning of 2000, there are very little known women filmmaker in festival circuit, especially from Malaysia and Indonesia as well. And what about now, after Yasmin Ahmad? Is there any movement dynamic in a female filmmaker in Malaysia and Indonesia for the moment?
I think in Indonesia, we are in the position that is we have to be grateful. I mean, of course, we should have more women filmmakers. We should have more, but at least now, as opposed to 10 or 15 years ago, we are also we're already familiar with women editors, even women cinematographers. So we have, you know, all these important decision makers in filmmaking who are women, and to us is something that we should be proud of because everyone had worked really hard all the way back from 15 years ago just to make this happen. You know, I mean, 15 years ago, a women cinematographer is unheard of, you know, much less from this part of the world, right? Screenwriters, a lot of, if not most of them are, I think, are women now. And we have, like Titin Watimena, Gina Esnur, director, Molly Surya, director and also writer. So it's pretty common, but you know, cinematographers or the DPs like Anggi and not yourself Anggi Nun, but Anggi Chumit we call her, and Fräulein Amalia. So and these two are very productive and quite accomplished. And the latest woman editor who just won Chitra for Joko's film. She's quite young, and yeah. So I think we're in a pretty good position when you ask me. But again, we should have more. You know, it's not enough just yet, but we should have more. Yeah.
Yeah, in Malaysia, we're very jealous. Yeah.
Yeah, keep up, guys. Keep it up.
Yeah, trying.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, I mean, like from last time, you know, you've got Nia Dinata, Mira Lesmana. You've got all these strong women making big decisions, you know, and we do have producers, women in important decision making positions as well. We've got, I think my last film was with a female director as well, Nadia Hamza. My next short film project is with a female director as well. I don't know. Am I doing this on purpose? I don't know. Right? No, but it's that. It's women supporting women, right? On my part, you know, I'm very picky. I don't know. It's a bad thing in Malaysia, apparently, if you choose your roles to make sure you give the best. You can. It's weird. For me, it's a responsibility as an actor to make sure that the audience get the best. So I would not pick roles or projects. To me, it's been there, done that, or I'm not giving you anything new. Atau, you know, women are not great in this light, or our guys don't look great in this light either. You know, so I just say no to this project. So I take that responsibility to put in effort, to give more time and to work with more female directors and female-driven stories. So this is my contribution to it. Yeah, we do have, but yeah, we need more for sure. Malaysia needs more.
Yeah, I understand what you said. I mean, when some people said that Prima Rusdi is a difficult writer, I know for sure they don't mean it as a compliment. So it's okay.
Sama. But basically, yeah, benar kan. Kalau if as a woman, if you do not agree and follow, you are difficult.
Yes.
So that's it.
That's not a compliment, right?
Daryl, do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, I agree. Yes, but I to be honest, I love working with female team. My both short films shot by different female DPs, and I'm to be honest, yeah, maybe the one that maybe you mentioned is maybe they already have like making feature films, you know, maybe there's not many, we need more. But I'm always very happy to see a lot of up and coming young filmmakers. I mean, I myself am young, not in the age, but young in this
new generation.
So yeah, there's a lot of up and coming, you know, like I think in Malaysia, one of the female director filmmaker that I like her work a lot, Amanda New. Yeah. And also a few editor. Yeah. I think, but I totally agree. We need more, and we need to balance more. And I always think that sometimes we need to mix a bit more in the production, not really based on like a gender or what, because especially a female DP, I love to work with them because the way they see, the way they film the scene, and it's much more gentle for me. Yeah, so that's what I like a lot.
Great. Okay. We've talked about this here and there a bit during our discussion, but as you know, though Yasmin's film most of the times are celebrated, but she was also criticized either by being too vocal or too optimistic on pluralism and on inter-religion relationship. I think she became the first Malay filmmaker to speak on behalf of the non-Malays. But what made some of Malay community uncomfortable, I guess, was her subtle criticism of Malay special rights. You know, inevitably she became the target of spiteful attacks. We've talked about this before, but I would like you to address this. How do you find these critics, you know, on record? Anyone wants
Well,
to?
when Sepet came out, I think it was something that people never seen before. You know, I think there was a P. Ramlee film in the 50s about him falling in love with an Indian lady, but I think that was about it. But it happens. I mean, my grandmother is Chinese. They went through that. They went through all kinds of things. But I don't think they saw it in this sense, you know, and in your face. And yeah, she had some dialogue in it and, you know, questioning this, you know, the special privilege that we do get just because we are of a certain race. And why not? Why not have that discussion? We can't solve our problems if we don't talk about it. And this is one way that we can reach out to people and start a conversation. And I was very proud to be part of that conversation. After Sepet won Best Film, the film that we were up against was a huge, epic film. And it cost like millions of dollars and ringgit to make. And Sepet won and we did it under 1 million. So people were like, who are these people? How dare you? Oh, they're so angry. So that's why they call us tainting the culture. You know, they had forums right after we won. It's like, should have Sepet won. You know, yeah. They were blatantly coming after Yasmin. I remember shooting Gubra and they were still attacking her in the newspapers, you know. And I remember getting my makeup done and she put her head in my lap and she started crying. And she says, I just want to tell stories. I don't know why they're attacking me. Just because she wasn't telling a story about them. And I got it. It's like, why? Not enough Malay guys, is it? You must fall in love with Chinese boys. Yeah. You get that. But at the end of the day, you got racists everywhere. At the end of the day, you've got people who, the Malay word is dengki, ill will. You've got ill will towards people and you cannot see other people do well. If they come back with criticism that is like honestly criticism, we would deal with it, we would chill out with it, we would listen to it and we would take it in. But this attack just because she was just doing something different, you know, there was so many, it was like on TV. It was on TV attacking Yasmin and attacking me. So yeah, we became the rebels and the liberals and you're awful. And just because we were portraying Malaysians, because cannot. You must be Indian, Chinese, Malay. You cannot be Malaysian. You cannot love each other. You must have a problem with each other because you're different. No, we can love each other because we're different. And that's, I mean, we were challenging the status quo, right? Whoever likes that? Who in politics ever likes that? But yeah, years down the line, it is something celebrated and by the people. You know, so the noisy people in power then and now, I guess, who have no clue in speaking to their people, you know, they get angry at you. And she wasn't scared. I think there was one minister at that time. He was so angry with her and she was like, oh, you know, like we gave you the money to do Sepet, you know, you should be grateful to us and blah, blah. And Yasmin came out in the newspaper, no, actually I'm not scared of ministers because syurga di bawah tapak kaki ibu. My heaven is under the foot of my mother and not under the foot of a minister. Wow, that didn't turn out well. The next day, the more anger. But yeah, that's how she did it, right? She was fearless in that sense because she wasn't doing anything wrong. I think the kids nowadays would never know what she went through because they look at her as such a legend. It's like, oh, she didn't go through anything, you know, she did so many love and, you know, she brought us all together. It's so nice. But no, it was hard dulu. These are the things that we chip away slowly. We chip away at the racism. We chip away at the psyche that we were brought up that we were different and it's a problem. No, we're different and it's gorgeous. We're different and it's great. I think for Yasmin, one of the main intention, of course, her main intention is to entertain her parents. That's it. That's why she makes movies. No other intention. But the other one was like, she said, "Ayo, got spoiler lah this one. Okay, whoever didn't watch Sepet, sorry. Okay, so sorry." But she said that in the end of Sepet, if if she got a racist in the cinema, right? If there was one racist sitting in the cinema that got upset that Jason and Orchid didn't end up together, she would have done her job. And that's it. And that's how Yasmin, and don't forget, yeah, she's got a degree, if I'm not mistaken, in psychology. So this is how she spoke to us, right? So this is how she chips away at our problems. We talk about it, we address it. The more you shut up about it, the more nothing happens, right? So you talk about it, you put a spotlight on it, and she didn't back down, and she spoke about it, even though it angered some people. She discussed it all over the world when people were afraid of Muslims in Paris and France, right? She would be there, and she would, very weird lah. This one, she was like, she would always, every time we were in a foreign country, especially countries that were like iffy a bit about Muslims, she would open her thing with Assalamualaikum. Don't worry. It doesn't mean that I have a bomb. Yes. It means peace be upon you, not that I have a bomb. So, and then she will continue with her Q&A, and everybody will be like, right? It's like, is she joking? But that's how she did it, right? You diffuse the awkwardness, you diffuse the problem. I'm human, you're human, how are you? You know, so that was her strength. And yeah, so people would have their opinions. People were, criticizing, even within the group that you assume would know or would understand. And she's like, oh, she's too idealistic. Why got Chinese can speak England like that one? Why got Malaysia wear baju kurung like that one? So there was like from all walks of groups. Everybody had their opinions. Not everybody enjoyed her films. Not everybody enjoyed her, Sometimes they found her too abrasive or loud or whatever. But at the end of the day, human is human. You like what you like. We cannot force people to like what we like. But at least give us a chance and hear the story out.
Okay, thank you. Mbak Prima, you want to do something?
Yeah, I think again, this is one of the biggest learning that we've got from Yasmin, is to never submit to your comfort zone. You have to address things the way they are, and otherwise, unless we have people like Yasmin and some of our Malaysian filmmakers, the independent ones, we still cannot get to know the Malaysians any better. I mean, that's the thing. And our responsibility as filmmakers is to present our society as we are, not just the glossy, glamorous side of it. And I mean, it's amazing that up until now, we still have to struggle to be able to do so. Because yes, there will be opposition. Yes, there will be, protest, criticism and what's not, especially now that, how people use their social media. So, but it's an ongoing process, I think, and we shouldn't stop and, taking a safer route, because there is no such thing.
Yeah, I think is I really agree with Prima and what Sharifah says. I mean, everyone has their own. They can choose what they want to say, what they want to watch. But I mean, as a filmmaker or as an artist, you just need to just try to be as honest as possible to portray whatever it is. Yeah. But to talk about how honest is and then how brave is Yasmin to use her work, her films. I think that there was this scene in Kubra. I think it's the very beginning of the film when one of this character, I believe he sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name on the work he does in the mosque. Is on the way in the morning.
Oh, the Bilal. Yes, the guy who calls the prayers. Yeah.
Yes. I think in cinema, I was a bit shocked, personally, that he go down to pet the dog. I feel so shocked and feel so touched, and I thought, this is so brave. This is so wonderful. I mean, but I'm sure that again was attacked many times. But yes, just do it. I will not. I don't care. I mean, this is what I believe, and the truth is always painful to see. And but doesn't mean you have to give up. Yeah.
Okay.
That
So-
particular character, sorry, just want to add, that particular character is an actual Bilal who is alive. And yeah, kalau tak silap saya, dia orangnya orang Indonesia. I'm not sure. Yeah, so he is a very pious man, and he is very chill out, but he works with prostitutes. Yeah, so he makes sure, they're all right, they're taken care of. What they do for work is not his business, but he will make sure that the children are fed, that they are happy, they're not being abused. And that was the kind of Islam Yasmin wanted to portray, because you are kind to animals, you are kind to people. That is how, true Muslims are supposed to be. You do not judge a dog. You do not judge a person. If you're truly pious and you're truly following the ways of our Prophet, this is how you are. So it was beautiful to see that. In Gubra, yeah, walaupun I'm in the movie, but my favorite is the second family. So yeah, I love the work that they did there. And yeah, and Gubra, okay, fact. Gubra was supposed to be very controversial, right? We had prostitutes, friends with Bilal, touching dog, all kinds of things like, you got things touch bottom, you got all kinds of things, right? But Sepet had 17 cuts in the cinema. Gubra had no cut.
Oh wow.
Weird, right? I also don't know how our censorship works in Malaysia. Because if you watch Sepet and you watch Gubra, you go, this one you better censor, This one got a lot of things to censor. This one fall in love, not yet, nothing. But no, 17 cut here, nothing cut here.
Okay. Wow. Anyway, it's been great discussion, guys, but I think our time is coming to an end. But I would like you to maybe some kind of closing remark before I make a conclusion of our discussion about the legacy that Yasmin Ahmad left for today's Malay film industry, for Sharifah and Daryl, and for Mbak Prima, about what filmmaker or audience from Indonesia can learn from Yasmin, from people who don't know her yet. Please.
Well, I think, again, there's no one like Yasmin, so she's irreplaceable. And her contribution to me is clear. She makes us, women from Southeast Asia, could think back about ourselves, embracing our identities, choose our path in our own way of living, and even making things that seem to be impossible, like me, for example, seeing myself as a filmmaker 15 years ago is probably like, there is no way, and that changed, when I saw Yasmin. So there's nothing impossible to her. Probably that's the legacy. And maybe we should revisit her work again and again. Because she left a lot of, well, maybe not in terms of numbers, but her works, I can promise you, be it like a piece of writing, like the speech we spoke earlier that I showed to you before the recording started, and the films are really significant and important and relevant. That's the key word. Regardless when you see the films, regardless when you see all these orchid films via Yasmin's lens, it will always be relevant. What she did is something that is not everybody could accomplish. She's done, I think, a number of timeless work. And And it is, I think it's part of our responsibility as Southeast Asian filmmakers community to make sure that we could preserve her work, you know. So that is our big job, because she's done all the hard work and, you know, opened up a lot of doors that were being closed up until she actually, you know, either created the keys or find a way to go around these things and, you know, do her things and leave her works to us. So yeah.
Thank you. Sarifah and Daryl.
Let me go first, maybe. So because I want to hear Sharifah do the last one to have a nice ending. Anyway, joking. But I think for me personally, again, I cannot speak on behalf of the entire Malaysian film, whether it's independent or mainstream or whatever. But what I see is that for me, Yasmin Ahmad films open up again, like what I mentioned earlier, open up that the doors for us to tell Malaysian stories, Malaysian our realities, you know, just be honest to yourself, just tell it, just confront it, just provoke whatever the truth. So I think I see a lot of Malaysian younger generation of filmmakers, I think up and coming, and also the experienced one like Yu Hang, Chui Mui, and a lot of them. I hope that someday we can, like what Yasmin Ahmad films did is like, you can have a film that in the cinema that people do not have to, Malaysian do not have to go to cinema to choose this film based on, you know, it's a Chinese film, so I go and watch. It's a Malay film, I go and watch. Or it's a blockbuster film, I go and watch. But it's something that, you know, talk about life, talk about, you know, compassion, empathy, you know, things like that. So yeah, I think that's how I feel about that. And I would like to, pass it on to Sharifah so that,
Oh, thank you. What's her legacy? I have so many. Like personally, no need to say lah. I speak like her. I dress like her. I miss her. Sense of humor. The fact that everywhere I go, I'm orchid. I've been orchid since I was 17. And I don't care. I'm very proud of it. Orchid has been the symbol of young, moxie, brave, outspoken Malay girls who speak English, and it's okay. Doesn't mean that I don't pray. Doesn't mean that I'm not Malay enough. It just means that I can speak English and maybe Cantonese and maybe Hindi and other languages because I'm Malaysian, and that's how we are. We speak many languages. I fall in love with whomever I want because I fall in love with the person and not because of their skin. She's changed the word sepet to mean something derogatory dulu to something so wonderful now. I think anybody, you know, a few years ago probably, hey, you mata sepet, and then people were like, oh, how can you say that? But now you mata sepet, yeah, like Jason. Sepet lah best. So she changed those things. Filmmaking, she's paved ways for storytellers, truthful storytellers who want to tell small stories but with big ideas. There are space for them now too. Not many people will see your film because you don't have the budget for marketing, but people will remember what your film made them feel, inshallah. She has opened the eyes of the world towards Malays, Chinese, and Indians from Malaysia, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists from Malaysia, because we're different. It's not the same. It's not the same when you're Indian from India and Chinese from China. When you're Malaysian, it's different. And bringing her films to Mexico, France, Italy, everywhere in the world, seeing how people accept, communicate, react even before subtitles come up, it's priceless. growing up, being part of her films and watching her films, she is one of the best studies of humanity for me as a person, and how her films make other people feel. Watching people come up to her after Mu'alaf in Japan asking, where can I buy a copy of the Quran? Because I want to know what the little girl is saying in her numbers. You know, being in Paris and people like, oh, Muslims are like this and it's fine. Yes, it's okay. So yeah, it's seeing how people, you know, within her films live and people outside of her film react to it. And I couldn't have asked for a better mentor, present, and a mother to love. So I'm very, very grateful and very, very blessed. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much. Wow, I'm speechless. It has been a wonderful and insightful discussion today. And I think I would like to conclude the whole discussion. I hope I make it all clear. So I think we are all agree that Yasmin Ahmad is an important figure in many levels. She is not only a filmmaker, but she is also an incredible woman who engaged, empowered, and opened the door and showing the way to young filmmakers who dare to speak issues considered as a taboo. So we admire her films because we recognize something in it that is deeply personal for us and for the audience. And like Mbak Prima said, it's relevant and relate to it intimately. Her works are familiar and comforting, and it's part of life that we knew very well. I think we can say that her film is not saying much, but it tells all. Her films are windows, displays of her interest, of what she wanted to see in society. And I think I would like to say this, one of the most remarkable quote in SEAPIC that I could never forget is, don't stereotype people. And before closing this conclusion, I remember the last interview of Yasmin Ahmad. The journalist asked her on how she would like to be remembered when she died. And she said, I want the audience to remember Sepet, Gubra, Musin, Mu'alaf, Talent Time. I want them to remember my work and forget who did it. It doesn't matter who did it because it's better like that. That's her last wish. But I think it's hard, evidently, not to remember her. But I think the most important thing in all of from all of our discussion is her message through her works that speak to us, to our generation. And I think now it's up to us on how we can introduce the importance of her works to the next generation. So to close this discussion, hopefully the program like SEAScreen Academy, like this one, will prolong the interest to Yasmin's legacy. So on behalf of SEAScreen Academy, I thank you all for today. Hopefully we can see you again in the future. And be safe, be healthy, and thank you very much.
Thank you everyone.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Mbak Prima,
Jaga diri.
Daryl.